All right, we're excited to be joined by Eliot Wolf. Now, Eliot, thanks for sitting down with us again. Second year
absolutely.
in a row.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So you just set up at the podium. This is your 31st Combine. I'm just curious, what is a 14-year-old Eliot Wolf doing at the Combine? Are you going to Elmo's? Are you timing guys' 40s? What was that experience like for you as a kid?
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, obviously having the advantage of my father working in the business, like I was the spoiled brat that was running around here kind of doing whatever I wanted. So I would be with him, going to workouts, timing 40s. As I got a little bit older, I was a sandwich guy. I would go and get everyone sandwiches before they sold food in the dome. So, I kind of started at the bottom in that regard. But, I recorded the broad jumps for a number of years. Matter of fact, one year they lost the official recording, and I was the only person over there recording the broad jumps. So they actually used my records to get out to all the other teams. So it's been good, yeah.
Yeah, here we are 31 years later.
Yeah, right.
Just generally, how are things been going? Vrabel coming in and you kind of merging all that together, the processes and a new regime in place.
Yeah, it's been good. So I knew Mike a little bit beforehand, bumping into him at pro days. He was always the guy at the pro day. He had the big chest protector on, beating on linemen, trying to see how hard they hit. So I kind of knew him, but I had never had like a meaningful conversation with him until the interview process, and it's been really good. Like, he's so genuine and authentic. He has a vision for the team. None of it's fluff or BS. I'm really encouraged and excited to be working with him.
Yeah. Well, I'll let Evan grill you because we're ready to talk. We just want to talk prospects with you.
Yeah. I'll start with free agency, and then we'll get a little bit into the draft, though. Just with free agency, you often hear that you fill needs in free agency and you go best player available in the draft is like the old cliche. Do you adhere to that cliche or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a cliche. I mean, I think it gives you the most flexibility. The free agent class obviously has strengths and weaknesses, as does the draft. But the more holes you can fill in free agency and the more depth you can add to the roster, it gives you a little bit more flexibility.
When you look at number 4, you mentioned up at the podium earlier that not as much clarity. We've kicked this around that last year we kind of thought quarterback. Right now is a little bit more ambiguity there. What do you see with the number 4 overall pick in this draft at the top in terms of talent?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see. Again, not sure what's going to happen in front of us. Not sure what way we'll lean. Again, we have the whole free agency period, trades, all these other avenues to acquire talent. So we'll see what happens.
How much is it about patience? Because I feel like we look at all these big name free agents that are available, and you say, but then you could maybe go to the draft and get an edge there. And how much do you kind of get a plan? But I think, as you said on the podium, you have to be ready to kind of adjust and tack it to different course.
Yeah, it's absolutely all about adjusting. I mean, we may have someone right after I get off the podcast here that from another team that says, hey, this guy's available now, and it's about being prepared and open and ready to explore everything to improve the roster.
Obviously, you want to improve the roster everywhere, but are there a few positions in particular that you look at that say we really need to address these?
Yeah, I mean, I think the lines are the ones that stand out, offensive line, defensive line. And again, as I said at the podium, it's everyone talks about the Super Bowl, but Philadelphia's had a really good offensive and defensive line for a number of years. Kansas City has too. They just weren't able to get it done in the end. But again, it's all about the offensive and defensive line, and it has been for a long time.
Along those lines, we heard from the defensive line today, the linebackers, really good class, it seems like. From your perspective, how do you delineate? I mean, you have big space eaters inside. You've got penetrators. You've got guys who are really stout against the run on the edge, but maybe not pass rush yet. You got guys that are pure pass rush. There's just so many different flavors of guys in the front. I'm sure that the coaching staff has maybe a style that they're looking for as well. But how do you separate all that out?
Well, I mean, I think the one thing that Coach talks about a lot, and he's kind of drilled into the scouts so far, is just play demeanor. Like who's going hard, who's giving effort, who's running the ball, who's playing physical, who's willing to put their face on somebody, use their hands, counter, all those things. So that's just something that maybe separates whatever style they are, that separates them and makes them more attractive to us.
Is it about the player, not the scheme? I mean, that seems, we talked to Mike yesterday, it just seemed like let's find the guys, then we'll kind of adjust to what we
ultimately.
have.
I mean, there's probably a handful of players that wouldn't fit what the vision for the defense wants to be, but within that, it's about the players, and I feel confident in Mike, not that I've worked with him for a long time, but seeing what he did in Tennessee and Terrell Williams with the D-line, like a lot of those guys would improve, just as a scout watching those guys. So we're confident that they'll be able to make whoever we bring in work.
When you look at the market and start talking about wide receivers and that coverage dictating number one guy, what do you see available out there? Do you feel like you guys can address that and maybe bring one of those types of players in here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about getting good players. Like, I don't know that how many players are going to be available that fit the bill that you're talking about. But again, there's plenty of areas to improve, and that would be one of them.
You mentioned some of the depth that I think the offensive line and wide receiver positions kind of in the middle of the draft. Is it hard to count on those guys? Are those, when you're getting to that, late day 2, early day 3, are you just trying to get guys you like their traits, but is it hard to count on those guys to really come in and make an instant impact?
I think so. I think it can be tough to count on those guys from day one. Again, it's about, the draft isn't judged in 1 year, but, to say that we're not going to fill this need because we'll just pick a guy in the 5th round, I don't think that's very realistic.
All right, so what's Eliot Wolf's official stance on arm length?
My official stance on arm length is it's a tool, just like any tool that we use to, again, it all comes back to the film. So, and I know, Mike said this, but Coach Belichick was big on this too, is there's plenty of guys that have long arms, but they play like this. Yeah. And the guys that can maximize their length, and to me, when you're writing a scouting report, it's more advantageous. You can write that a guy has good length, but the extension, the punch that he plays with is more important than the actual number.
Yeah, it makes sense. And just with Travis Hunter, I wanted to ask you about him specifically because I find it so fascinating that is it almost like evaluating 2 separate players because he can play 2 different positions? How do you kind of scout him? It
is, and not to give anything away, but Matt Groh actually wrote 2 separate scouting reports on him when he went to Colorado this year. He has one wide receiver report and one corner report. Now, he's the only one that did that. Everyone else kind of tried to jam everything into the space that we had. But, it's tough when you're talking about a player that does so many different things to try to fit it all in there.
You try to match it up, how would Travis Hunter, the receiver, do against Travis Hunter, the cornerback?
Exactly.
Well, Ev, I don't want to cut it. If you got any more in the
no,
bag,
that's all
you got
right. I'm good.
No,
I'm
we
good.
love this stuff. We love the combine.
Good.
We love seeing all these players. So thanks for sitting down and providing some insight with us.
All right, no problem. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Eliot.
Thanks.